The Jamie Dyer Show.
This is Jamie Dyer speaking to you, and we have a very special show for you today. On the 29th of January 2016, we paid a trip to Sussex Partnership on the edge of Worthing to find out a little bit more about some of the work that they do and are involved in. We set up a studio in one of their conference rooms and invited people in to talk to us. Several people were brought to us and we did short interviews with them, covering the basics of their role and other information as well. Before I play the interviews that we did on the day, I would first like to read out the overview of what the Sussex Partnership does, as is detailed on their website. It reads: "We provide NHS care across Sussex for people with mental health problems, learning disabilities, or an addiction to drugs or alcohol. We provide a range of specialist services across South East England. We care for people of all ages, from children and young people through to older people with conditions such as dementia. We aim to improve people's lives by providing high-quality care and the best possible experience of our services. We provide services in a wide range of places, including hospital, community clinics, people's homes, and GP practices." Now, that's a very broad overview on what they do, as is detailed on their website, and it would be virtually impossible to cover absolutely everything in the short amount of time that we have in this show. But coming away at the end of the day, I certainly felt more enriched about the incredible work that is done at the Sussex Partnership. The first person that we interviewed that day was Una.
So my role here, I work in the learning disability care group, and I'm a nurse consultant.
Right. What does a nurse consultant do?
A nurse consultant provides leadership for nurses, learning disability nurses who work in the trust. So we have a number of community teams across East Sussex, West Sussex, and also Brighton and Hove. And also we have an inpatient service here on the site of Swansea Hospital called the Selden Centre.
What would a daily thing be like for you? What do you do day to day?
The great joy of my job is that no day is routine, no day is predictable. I never quite end up where I think I'm going to end up. So every day is really, really interesting and very, very different. So I spend some of my time based on the Selden Centre, which is a service for 10 people with learning disabilities who, for a number of reasons, need to come into hospital for a short period of time to receive care and treatment. So it could be because they're struggling with mental health issues or have some challenging behaviour issues, or need a period of really good multidisciplinary assessment to really understand what people need and how best we can support them, make some recommendations, and then think about supporting people to go back to their own homes and go back to their own communities as quickly and as well supported as possible.
Well, that's fantastic. So obviously you're working alongside people while you're doing that. Absolutely. So in the middle of it absolutely is the person that is the most important person in the whole jigsaw. Yeah. And we work really hard to work with family members as well, and very much consult and work as close as we possibly can to get as much good information, support and opinion that we possibly can. And then in our own services we work really closely. We have doctors and nurses, physios, OTs, speech therapists, psychologists, and also we work very closely with our colleagues in adult services, so social services as well we work very closely with, to make sure that the person gets the absolute right support they need at every stage of their journey, really. Of course. How important do you think something like this is?
For me, when I think about how I want to support people and help people, my kind of benchmark would be, is this good enough? Would this be good enough for a member of my family? Would this be good enough for my daughter? And I always think that's a really good way of thinking about things. So then it helps you to deliver the best possible care that you can.
Obviously the idea of the place is to kind of detach any stigma that's attached to mental health. How important do you think that is?
I think hugely, and also there's stigma around people with learning disabilities as well.
Yeah, definitely.
So it's about working very closely together to promote people's needs and reduce stigma and fear and anxiety, and to improve people's understanding of the needs of people who have mental health issues and learning disabilities.
Definitely, yeah. You're going to finish the interview today. You're going to go out the door. What's the first thing you do?
The first thing I'm going to do, that's an interesting question, because like many people, there's lots of things I need to do at once.
Yeah.
I think the thing I'm going to do next is to make a telephone call to a colleague in social services,
Right.
to talk through care we're planning to offer to somebody, just to make sure that we're doing the right thing and it's a good idea and a good plan. And I want to think about how we can include the person in those decisions around their care. So that's the conversation I want to have next.
Of course. Well, thank you very much for coming to talk to us today. And
It's a pleasure to meet you.
And no, it's a pleasure to meet you, because it's a fantastic thing that's being done here, and long may it continue, really.
See, here's the thing, I've been doing this now for over 30 years, and I still find it really hard to believe that I get to do the job that I do. I absolutely love it. Over a 30-year career, I could probably count on one hand the number of days that I haven't enjoyed my job.
Yeah.
I feel as enthused about what I do for a living as I did 30 years ago. It really is a great job, and this is a really good place to work.
Well, that's fantastic. Well, thank you very much
My
for
pleasure.
talking to us today, and good luck.
Thank you.
Una Hobson there. What really struck me about that interview was the persistence at putting the person first. This is a theme that runs throughout the entire organisation. As with any partnership, there are many different teams working together to achieve different goals, but the same end: to put the person first, as we said previously. I spoke to Jerry O'Toole, who discussed his different but important role.
My role is I'm the manager of what we call the Care Home in Reach team. We're a specific service. It was set up in 2013. What we do is, interestingly, we try to avoid patients. We work with residents, with the care home staff, to actually prevent patients, which helps the service by bringing in good dementia care, helping the care homes to manage their residents in the best way possible. And we've got a series of different ways of doing that. We've got the service actually it's quite small, so we've got nurses and occupational therapists. What we do is we cover all of West Sussex. So we're a small team going into care homes. It's very intense work, but we usually try to aim at working about 16 weeks with each care home we work with. But that's specialist and it's very bespoke service, so we try and identify what specifically that care home needs. We work with lots of other services because no man's an island. We need to get as much assistance through other specialist services to help those care homes manage their residents in the best possible way.
Of course. So in your day-to-day life, what does your job involve?
Well, it's what I do as a manager. I'm there to firstly visit the care homes that are referred to us. We like to think now, because the care homes are referring themselves. And that's something that we work very, very hard to do. Yeah. So the name and the word is spreading out there. I help our team in the management of, we've got activity forums set across West Sussex, as well as managers forums, which we've broken into now, and it's becoming very successful. But I help the team in managing the workload and in addressing issues that may have for such a diverse and wide-ranging territory, really. And some hands-on work and try and managing specialist workshops that we do as well.
Of course. So you've obviously got a team of people that you work with. Who do you work side by side with, as it were?
Well, there's other teams we work within Sussex Partnership. We've got other teams that specialise in other areas of dementia, and we also work with community teams from other partnerships. The Western Community Services for one. So there's different teams for different areas. So it's a matter of negotiating what teams are specific to that area. So there's lots about GPs who are intrinsic to the work we do, and we appreciate the pressure that's on that service. So what we try to do is help reduce referrals in care homes to them. But other teams we work with, we've got what we call a rapid assessment and intervention team, which is physical care as part of Western Community Services. And we also work with Crawley, the equivalent, it's all big words, isn't it? Integrated Response Team, which they deal with the physical elements as well, working in conjunction with us who deal specifically with the dementia complications that residents may face.
Of course, so is it mainly dementia or is it other forms of?
It's entirely dementia, but what we've noticed is there's a knock-on effect. We find because the West Sussex has been identified as the capital of dementia for Britain, which is quite a mantle.
That's an interesting statistic,
isn't it? And also because of such, I think there's quite a lot of responsibility on us to live up to that. Interestingly, I've done a little bit of scoping, and nowhere out of the 10 little areas of scoping that I've done works like we do. I'm not saying they don't do things really, really well, and maybe we could do things better, but because of the other specialist services we have across West Sussex, it's really helped us to do our job and to target the particular work we're doing with the residents.
Of course, because like you say, there's lots of, it's very, very specialist. Is it, I mean, you say it's obviously the highest point in Sussex here, but are there other similar things around the country, or is it specifically, exclusive to Sussex?
Well, even within Sussex, we've got Sussex Partnership, and we've got two other teams of Care Home InReach who do a fantastic service as well. I'm really glad to get the opportunity to actually mention them. Because there's East Sussex and Brighton and Hove. But because of the localities, specific challenges to each locality, which makes our working that bit different, although the core of the work we're doing is very, very similar, and we meet up regularly to ensure that continues. But throughout Britain, and the only 10, bear in mind, I'm not suggesting it's across, but out of the 10, there are other specialist interventions that sound fantastic, but it doesn't suit what we're doing here, or it doesn't fit in with the care we're giving, because of it's all working in partnership. So some areas cover sometimes, so we don't want to duplicate the care with other services. So that sort of makes it a little bit different from other areas in my experience.
Well, that's fantastic. It's a great service. In your role on a more practical level, when you go into care homes, I mean, you talk about going into care homes, what is it you actually do on that? Okay,
well, we would need to identify is where the care homes need help and support. What we find is we offer a range of workshops, which is a bit like a jigsaw. It's, I think, when the workers and carers within the care home, that can be nurses, managers, owners, we have a lot of owners involved, and the carers, in looking after their dementia residents, they understand, first of all, what dementia is, what a debilitating disease it happens to be, and also how to communicate with people, because our aim is, our mantra, I suppose, is to say that the residents with dementia, they're communicating, it's our job to understand what they're communicating. That at times may be found challenging by the carers within the care home. We help them to put things in place in understanding that individual, because they are individuals. They have a life history, a life story, they've had a multitude of experience. If we don't understand that, or if we don't help the carers within the care home to understand that, I think it can be very frustrating to the residents, the families. It has a knock-on effect, their physical and their mental health, which can really impact on services. So by helping those care homes with these range of workshops, communication, understanding medication, meaningful activities, one of the most important things of being occupied, our occupational therapists do a wonderful job in going in and delivering meaningful activities specific to that individual. For instance, we were dealing with an individual not so long ago who had been in an orchestra, and one of our occupational therapists had identified this information, played music to them that was specific to them, and got the required result of that person joining in and really responding, and the quality of their life was improved. This is an example of some of the work we do, but there's so many. I could be here all day with you, and telling you about all the benefits and all the wonderful work that our team has done.
Well, it's fantastic, and like you say, it's the memory thing with dementia that's very, very important to remember that. One thing I'm asking everybody I interviewed today is, obviously, you finish the interview today, you go out the door, what's the first thing that you do?
Well, I'll go back and tell my team that I've been on the radio.
Right.
And encouraging everybody to listen to it, and
right.
So that's certainly one thing. But also what I'll be doing is checking on my team who are out in the community at the moment. I'll be identifying, I think I've got somebody in East Grinstead this morning and another one in Selsey.
Yeah.
So they'll be feeding back to me to tell me what's been going on. I think there had been a forum yesterday. I think I have to catch up with some of the opinions from managers throughout the area of West Sussex to find out their needs and if there's anything more we can do to address those.
Yeah.
And supporting Sussex Partnership and going forward.
So would you say that this is a 24-hour job, or do you have other people that do your job as well, or is it literally just you in that role?
We like to think what we do is we stimulate the care homes to do the care. So I like to think that this is not only 24 hours, it's continuous year after year. So what we want to put in place is sustainability so that the care homes can maintain the good work with our partner agencies who we couldn't do without. But to ensure that care home managers and their staff, who know their residents better than anybody, they take into account all the elements of dementia and good care and meaningful activities in ensuring their residents stay safe and well and happy.
Well, that's the important thing. But no, Jerry, thank you very much for talking to me today, and good luck for the rest of the day and for your role as well.
Thank you very much. It's lovely to meet you.
And you. Thank you. Jerry O'Toole there. Not only does he fulfil an important role, but he expressed incredible enthusiasm for it. It was fascinating talking through methods and ways of working with Jerry, and I do wish him the best of luck in the future with his role. A slight change of scene now, as we got the opportunity to talk to a governor named Amy. Presented with this title, it did lead me to ask, what does a role of a governor do?
Well, I wasn't really clear to start off with, but I understood that I'd have to attend some meetings with some really important people, but I didn't actually realise I also got to go around and meet people as well. I got to go around and meet staff, patient users, parents, and I would just find out what issues concern them, and I'll just bring them back to the board. And it's really interesting because you feel like you're making such a difference, and just doing simple, small things is really interesting.
Yeah, so what do you mean by that? Can you expand on that at all?
Do you mean the sort of stuff I do?
Yes.
Well, basically I got involved because I was a service user and I have Asperger's and some other things. So it just... Oh, sorry, I've lost it.
That's all right.
This morning, Amy.
This morning I interviewed some people who are going to be doctors, and basically I saw there were some things in the service that I thought could be improved or changed, and I wanted to give back to the service, give just so much back to the service, and just put things so differently to how it could be in the future, and hope other people get so much care and support. So what I'm doing now is I'm trying to ensure that in the future.
Yeah, so are there many governors, or is it literally just you alone, or do you man a certain part of it, as it were?
I don't think I could do it alone, but I'm not too sure how many there are of us at the moment, but there's quite a few, but there's quite a few vacancies still available for a certain amount of areas, and if anyone's interested they can go online and find out about governors and how to become one. But I would really suggest to do it. I mean, I'm in Kent at the moment because I represent Kent, because Kent are part of the child mental health is part of Sussex Partnership, so I represent the people in Kent for that. And it's just a really exciting, interesting thing, and it just opens up so many opportunities, and it's just a life-changing thing, really. And if I could, I'd do this as a job, like full-time, because I love it so much.
Yeah, so you mentioned, is it only a part-time thing, or is it?
It's all voluntary.
Oh, is it voluntary?
Yeah. I come from Deal in Kent, and had to do some interviews this morning for the doctors, and I was up at 3:15, and it's quite a long journey, but I love it so much, and I just want to be a part of shaping the service.
Of course. So if anybody was interested in doing what it is that you do, obviously, what skills do you think they would need to go forward with that?
I wouldn't say you need any skills, really. It's just go ahead with it.
Yeah.
Anyone can be one. I mean, there's such a diverse range of people who are governors. Obviously, some have mental health, and as I've mentioned, I have Asperger's and a few others. So, you don't have to be a superhero or anything.
No,
it's just...
Basically, if you're interested, if you have a passion for that, then obviously that's something to go on with. So you obviously do all those things. Is there anything else really that inspires you about the role at all?
I do study law and politics at the moment, and I would like to go more into mental health amongst the law and the politics. I think being in this role as a governor, I'm learning so much about it, and it's really setting up my future.
Yeah. Well, it's fantastic to speak to you, and obviously to hear your passion for the role that it is that you do, and I hope that people do come forward and kind of fill the gaps that's really needed. Thank you very much today, Amy, for coming to talk to me.
Thank you.
Well, that was Amy there, doing the voluntary role of a governor. I'll be giving out details on how you can get involved at the end of this programme. Lastly, an important aspect of any organisation is the funding. As with similar organisations, some of which we've spoken to in the past, the Sussex Partnership has a charity which helps it out with certain things. My guest from their charity, Heads On, was Anissa.
So I work for Heads On. I'm the fundraising officer. Heads On is Sussex Partnership's charity. So basically we raise money to make things better for our service users, but which NHS budgets can't cover.
Yeah.
So we fund things like special projects, patient and family support, pioneering research, and also the transformation of our local hospitals and community centres into more warm and welcoming spaces.
Yeah, so how do you go about that? How do you go about that?
So I do community and events fundraising. So we have a few events a year. We have an event in the summer called Walk for Wards, which is basically a 5k or 10k sponsored walk where people can choose the specific ward or service that they raise money for. And our next big fundraising event is called The Big Grin, which is going to be held on Friday the 11th of March.
Yeah.
And we basically want to try and make Sussex the happiest county in the UK. So it's all about kind of dressing up or dressing down and making the people around you smile to raise funds for Heads On, but also awareness of mental health problems.
Yeah.
So if people do want to get involved, taking part is really easy. From coming to work in a full-on fancy dress outfit to just wearing a heads-on mask or sticker, all you need to do is wear something that makes you smile and make a donation to Heads On. Every penny that we raise will be spent on items and activities that make our patients more comfortable and go above and beyond what the NHS can offer.
Yeah.
This includes things like art and music workshops, day trips out for people who stay on our wards for extended periods, and also social evenings for people living with dementia.
Yeah. How important do you think something like this is for the whole thing? You know, for raising money. How important is that?
Well, I think the things that we kind of raise money for are really things that really make a difference to the well-being of our patients. But often the NHS just can't cover. But they're often things that staff and patients have got together and kind of talked about and realised what would be best to help them. Things like the music projects on our dementia wards are just really great for kind of patients' well-being. But obviously we can't really have the NHS pay for those kind of things. So I think it's really important for people's recovery as well.
Of course, for extra things. How many of you are there in the charity kind of making it work?
So there is only 3 of us in the charity team. So there's 2 of us in the fundraising team, and then we have a finance officer. So we're a very small charity at the moment.
Yeah, and is that across Sussex, like the partnership?
Yeah, so we cover the whole of Sussex Partnership as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic. It's a vital service, as it were. Have you obviously you've got the big grin in March? Is there anything beyond there?
Yeah, so we're going to have another Walk for Wards event in the summertime, probably around June time. If people do want to get involved in the Big Grin, we can send out a fundraising pack, which gives you everything that you need to get started, including posters, balloons, funny face masks, and plenty of tips and tricks for you to get the most out of the day. So to find out more about Heads On, and if you want to sign up to the Big Grin, just go to headsoncharity.org/biggrin.
Well, there we are. We'll certainly be doing that. We'll even post something about that up on our social media. Thank you very much for coming to speak to me today, and good luck for the Big Grin and any other events that you have going on in the next few months or so.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. That was Anissa from the charity Heads On. Some very important work being done there. Well, that was Anissa from the charity Heads On, who help some of the funding with the Sussex Partnership. Some very important work being done there, of course. Well, we've reached the end of our programme, but I'd like to finish with this message. If anyone out there is interested in working or volunteering with the Sussex Partnership, as case may be, please visit their website, www.sussexpartnership.nhs.uk. Alternatively, don't forget to find them on Facebook, give them a like, and maybe even tell them that you've listened to the show today. Or tweet them at Without Stigma. That's all one word, at Without Stigma on Twitter. I'd like to say thank you to the Sussex Partnership for having us, and hope that we can work together in the future.
The Jamie Dyer Show.